G'day there guys, it's your Aussie Hubby Markee, back at it again with another r/EntitledParents video. Now, if you love me as much as I love you, you know what to do. Mosey on over to that old like button and tackle it like Steve Irwin would a crocodile. Maybe even chuck an Aussie flag down to the comments if you're staying a while. Now with that out of the way, I want you to sit back, relax, chuck a prawn on the barbie, and get ready for some good content. Entitled mother slaps my kid for having a different opinion, and she gets what she freaking deserves. Okay, some things to get out of the way. This is on mobile and English isn't my first language. Our cast are me, entitled mother, and my 16-year-old daughter. On to the story. So I'm on my way to lunch with daughter. And where I was, there were a bunch of anti-abortion groups, and personally, me and my daughter are pro-choice. But as we are walking, there's this lady who was walking up to people and asking them if they think a woman should get abortions, and if they said yes, she would say, "You people kill children." We were trying to avoid her, but eventually she walked right up to us, her children behind her. And she's like, "What are your thoughts on abortions?" My daughter says, I think women should be able to choose whether they should or shouldn't. "So you think we should kill babies?" "Well, it's their future, and they should choose and not be pressured." You people sicken me. And when I walk on, I hear, whap! I turn around and my daughter is on the sidewalk with a red handprint on her cheek. Let me tell you, I have never ran faster in my life at that entitled mother. And I have never punched someone harder than that in my life. I know violence probably wasn't the answer in that situation, but nobody hits my daughter. The entitled mother just sat there in awe at me, and I'm like, no one hits my daughter, bear. I grabbed my daughter's hand and walked to the diner, and went about the rest of the day. We had to deal with the police because the entitled mother did call the police for assault, but we got off scot-free because there were cameras around, and there were bystanders that backed us up, and the entitled mother did get a $150 fine. Now that is epic. I have never understood the ideology behind, "I believe you're supporting a violent act, therefore I will beat the violence out of you," with protesters. How do they not see the hypocrisy? You dare be violent, proceeds to beat. Beating a child, no less. Saving children, right? No, not one of those children outside the womb with needs and... Oh god, okay, I'm gonna stop. It's getting a bit too much. Mother tried to get me fired for corrupting young children with sinful and satanic behavior. As a preface, I don't worship Satan. I play Dungeons and Dragons, which is like the same thing, right? So last year, I got invited to work as a swim coach at the country club where I first started swimming, as I know swim at the D1 college level. This was an incredible opportunity for me, and I loved it. I'm very well liked by almost all of the parents, even some that I've known for over a decade. The entitled mother in this story was pretty new, only being there for now a year. Last summer, I had started getting in Dungeons and Dragons, and I honestly love it so much. I was at a game store looking at getting new dice and books while having a guy there explain miniatures to me, when entitled mother came in as she had seen me outside. She was very nice and asked me what I was doing there. I said I was here to get some stuff to play Dungeons and Dragons, and that's when things turned bad, as she started to call me a Satan worshipper, saying her piece, then left, and I thought that was the end of it, but boy was I wrong. The next day at practice, I was with this little 5-year-old boy who I had known since he was born, and the entitled mother came over to yell at me to not corrupt him. After yelling at me, the little boy's mother came over to me and asked what was going on. The entitled mother said that I was a Satan worshipper, and maybe worse, insinuating that I was a pedophile. The mum had known me since I was a little kid, and had helped babysit her youngest 2 children, and was always best friends with her oldest kid who had Down syndrome, but he was the coolest guy I ever met, and he and I did private lessons all the time. Looking confused, I explained the situation, and the mum helped me to get her to back off. Yet it still did not end there. She talked to other parents at the club to get them against me. Unfortunately for her, I was the club's golden boy, a title I don't really like or cared about. I got it for being the team's best swimmer ever, and really good with kids. When this didn't work, she went to my boss, the head coach. Now, the head coach didn't like me as I had tried to get her fired. There's several reasons I did this. Mainly, she as the head lifeguard left no one there to watch the pool, to go on dates, then got a promotion. I got treated poorly, but when going to the higher up, she was let go. I had also known him since I was a kid as well. In the end, entitled mother didn't get her way, but she had tried to take my job away for a hobby. I'm still super into Dungeons and Dragons, and she still claims I'm a violent Satanist. She says this as she found out I love hard rock and play video games. But I was lucky because I knew all these people. It's sad because to avoid dealing with this, I don't think I will be applying again this year, which is upsetting because of all the memories there, and it was ruined by a game meant to help people connect socially, be creative, use problem solving, and just have fun. Edit because a lot of people were asking. While this event left a sour taste in my mouth, I also don't feel like going back, because even after reporting my boss, she immediately got a fudging promotion when the staff was told she would be let go instead. I also have moved since, and don't plan on returning home, instead stay in New York for a summer. There were many things that made me not want to apply there this summer, but she was just one of them. And our next post. My sister, the entitled mother, has decided to kick my mum out of her own house, because she visited me and my husband for Mother's Day because she didn't want to infect her child. Title says it all, but I'll go into detail. My sister lives with my parents, along with her boyfriend and my niece. My mum pays for everything, rent, food, entitled mother can't even be trusted to give money to go to a food shop, holidays, etc. Since my mum is divorcing my dad, she decided to move out and get her own place, and her name is on the original house. Now, last week in the UK, they decided to put tougher measures on contact due to COVID. I thought since we can't go out, my mum can visit us and we can do the 2-meter distancing. I am very strict with this kind of thing, since my work has been giving daily health and safety lectures. Have dinner and just chat with her. I haven't seen my mum in a couple of months, and I thought that it was a nice gesture for Mother's Day. Now, my sister has decided that me and my husband are sick, even though she spoke to me the day before and I was fine, and that I am now going to infect my mum and therefore her child. So now she has threatened my mum not to come back, but transfer her money for my niece's childcare, all the span of a 10-minute tirade. Yeesh. I told my mum to treat it as a personal vacation from her constant demands and enjoy the next 3 weeks while it lasts. Maybe make it 4 weeks. She laughed, and we had a good Sunday dinner. Right, well, in my house, my mum and I are socially distancing. Really not being in the same room as each other. She's high risk and all that. Now, your mum should not be going out to visit you, but that's whatever. However, if your sister wants to play that game, tell her fine. But she gets no childcare, no money for the house, no food for the next month, and see what happens next. Look, I get the social distancing thing. I am the only one working on the entire floor of my work, and I probably shouldn't have done it at the time. But even then, under those circumstances, everything was done to health codes at the time. It is changing day by day. So at the time, it was no gatherings of 4 or more people, and keeping 2-meter distances from people. Wash hands if you come in contact with foreign surfaces, and wash hands as much as you possibly can. We now have a ban on anyone coming into our house, and we only travel to and from work. I work in a chemical treatment plant that is very strict on health and safety. And I do tell my mum to stand up for herself, but my mum doesn't want my sister and my niece to become homeless in this pandemic. I can't physically do anything more than that. Look, OP, I totally know where you're coming from. The social distancing thing is really hard, even when we're with our families. And I know it's hard for even a parent to stand up to their child when there is a grandchild involved. The entitled mother loves to wield the power over that. Really hope your mum can stand up to her. Now that the lockdown has come, we have placed a ban on anyone entering our home. So now we just FaceTime each other. I hope she does too, but I doubt that will ever happen. Heck, that's a hard situation, that one. And our next post. Mother flips out because I ordered vegan option with egg. So I'll start by saying I'm mostly vegan, but I occasionally indulge in an egg or some cheese at breakfast. This morning happened to be one of those occasions. It wasn't planned or anything. I went out to buy donuts for the factory. One of my guys is having his last day today, so I figured it would be nice if I bought everyone donuts to send him off. Next to our favourite donut joint, Daniel's Donuts in Springvale, Victoria, Australia, if anyone's interested that is, best fudging donuts ever, is a Hungry Jack's. That's Australia's Burger King for the rest of ya. Don't know why they rebranded down here, but they did. God, Hungry Jack's is so good. Anyways, I hadn't had breakfast this morning, and figured screw it, I'll pop into HJ's for a vegan avocado muffin. Now, those things are alright, but I was a little extra hungry and kinda in the mood for an egg. So I asked for the vegan avo muffin with egg in a large meal. Coke for the drink, Coke for breakfast, come on buddy. It's at this point a woman who had already ordered completely lost her fudging mind. Should mention she is an entitled mother, as she did have a little kid with her. Poor little bugger was quiet the whole time though. The woman went up to the counter and asked them what I had ordered. I was raised to mind my own business, so while I could overhear the conversation, I shut my mouth. What did that tradie just order? Vegan meal with egg. Well, if it was an egg, it can't be vegan. Change the order so there's no egg. I can't do that, ma'am. He ordered what he wanted and paid for the extra egg. That's ridiculous. If I order a vegan burger with bacon, would you make it? Of course. But that's impossible. Bacon isn't vegan. This went on for a bit until I lost it and started laughing. You think this is funny? What the frick is wrong with you? Nothing. I ordered a delicious meal and you're losing your mind. It's pretty funny. You're just a fudging troll. I bet this whole thing was just a joke, and you ordered this to piss me off. Lady, how would I have known it would piss you off? Sorry, are you vegan or something? Do I look like a stinking hippie? No, I'm not fudging vegan, and neither are you. You're too fudging fat to be vegan. Lol, I've heard this before. I haven't eaten meat in 26 years, since I was a little nipper. But I've been fat most of my life and have heard you can't be vegan/vegetarian because you're fat. Can I just please dispel that misconception? Just because you don't eat meat doesn't mean you eat healthy. And yet I'm a vegan, but I occasionally enjoy an egg. Even if I wasn't, I don't see how it's any business of yours what I order and why. Maybe I'm not vegan, but like just the patty and avo? Don't be stupid. You obviously did this to piss me off. Change your order now. Lady, I'm not changing anything, and you can kiss the fattest part of my ass if you don't like it. Kick him out! Kick him out of the store! Kick him out! Now, there is no satisfying ending to this, except that my meal was ready and I grabbed it. She reached out her hand to take it, but I was quicker than her. I smiled at her and said bon appetit before leaving. There was no store manager, no men in white coats to drag this beer away kicking and screaming, and no child service rep to swoop in and save the kid. Just a crazy expletive who can't mind her own business, and me, a dude who encounters way too many crazies. It's cause you live in Victoria, mate, it's full of them. And our next one. It's Italian tradition. It's a touchy subject right now. This story takes place during the week my wife and I got married. I was 28 at the time. We had a destination wedding in the Bahamas, and it was amazing. We had 15 people able to join us. We had picked the Bahamas as it was the first place my wife and I ever did a vacation, and it's where I proposed to her. So for us, the week was pure magic. Now onto the story of my mother. I would write about her antics during the whole week, but I don't think people want to read a book, so I'll talk about the wedding day itself. I think we do want to read a book here, please. It's Wednesday, middle of our trip. Both me and my wife wanted to follow the don't see each other before the wedding rule. We've gotten some flack for it, but whatever. We were getting married off the resort in a small blue church in a nature sanctuary. I was to go first and my wife would follow. While waiting on the rides for me, my best man and our guests, my mum kept saying things like, "It's Italian tradition for the mother to take photos with the groom before the wedding. It's Italian tradition for the mother to take photos with the best man and the guests." This was getting annoying, but then my mother pulls me aside and starts to have a heart-to-heart talk with me, which I thought was going to go one way. It was basically a lecture about how important she is and how selfish I was. She ended it with, "It's also Italian tradition to wear these cufflinks." I was expecting cufflinks from what my grandpa wore at his wedding. I respected him greatly. He was a huge influence in my life. She pulls out these dollar store cufflinks and keeps trying to pass them off as a family heirloom. I later found out that she had bought them in the Bahamas as an impulse buy. Also, my suit wasn't made with cufflinks in mind. Anyways, as the ride shows up, my mother tells me, "Oh, don't forget, it's Italian tradition for the mother to walk with the son down the aisle." Everyone looked at her like she was crazy, because even my idiot knows that's not a tradition anywhere. I don't know what they meant by that, probably them being the idiot. I called her out on that, and she starts arguing with me. She sort of relents and tells me, "Well, if you're gonna break your mother's heart, at least follow the Italian tradition of making your brother the usher." I told her that like only 6 people were coming with me, but fine, whatever. We finally leave, my mother staying behind to stay with the bride's side. Lord knows what crap she tried to pull with her. We get to the nature sanctuary and go to the small blue church that can hold maybe 40 people. Everyone just sits where they want, and my brother stands by the door. Now, my wife's maid of honor is her best friend, and she's a sickeningly amazing person. Honestly, she's probably the most selfless person on the planet. Honestly, her only flaw is that she is very loud. I bring that up because when my wife and everyone with her pulls up, you can hear the maid of honor and the distance between us is large. I perk up and get ready when my brother, who is still standing by the door, says, "OP, I'ma go have a smoke and explore the park." And I tell them, "We just heard them pull up. No." He tries arguing with me, but finally just shuts up and gives me the dirtiest look for the rest of the day. The place is huge and maze-like. The other guests show up. Everyone gets their seat. We didn't care who sat where. We start the wedding, and I see my soon-to-be wife as a bride, come around the corner. My heart stops, and I realize that this is the best moment in my life. Everyone else apparently knew what I was thinking because I had a smile that went from ear to ear. Honestly, the 2 seconds of her coming around the corner made all my stress vanish. My wife looked at me and gave me a huge smile as well. Seeing her walk down the aisle is a memory I replay in my head all the time. Sorry for the sappy bit. Wedding goes great. We do our vows, and I can hear my best man behind me crying like his mum just died. Whoa, talk about sweet. After the ceremony, my mother is back into Italian tradition mode. It's Italian tradition for the mother to have a photo with the groom. It's Italian tradition for the mother to XYZ. If I were to type out everything that was Italian tradition, no one would read this. Later, when we got our photos back, my mother had this scowl in her face in the entire time. There's one that's my favorite because it's during the whole "Do you take OP to be?" part, and she has this look of like pure disgust and hatred. It's great! So we get back to the resort. We have our reception. I think that's what it's called. I'm just an idiot and forget. My mother tries to start it out by saying, "It's Italian tradition for the mother of the groom to do 3 speeches." My best man was not having that, and put his foot down on who does a speech. He kicked ass at keeping her sanity in control during the week. Everyone does their speeches. My now in-laws do theirs and hand us a card. In it, it says, "When we get home, we will give you $1,000 as a wedding present." Awesome. My mum tried a few more Italian traditions. One was about her cutting the cake. Several were about her and various photos with people. The cap to the night after dinner. My mother walks up to me and my now wife and says to her, "How much did your parents give you?" She was like, "Huh?" And my mother goes, "Well, it's Italian tradition for the groom's parents to give double of the bride's parents." We paused in confusion and told her they haven't given us anything yet, but they will give us $3,000 when we get home. My mother goes, "Good, I'll give you $3,000 then." We were like, "'Kay." Spoilers, my mother never gave us a single penny. It's been 4 years since our wedding, and my mother tells people that she paid for everything. The wedding, my suit, my wife's dress. Her grandma with dementia bought it for her, so that really pisses my wife off. All 17. That is, counting my wife and me, 17 people's airfare. Hotel, wedding ceremony too, and so much more. The only thing she paid for was her and my brother's trip, and the only reason my brother came was because it was a free vacation for him. And I'll end it with this fun fact. I'm half Italian, but have never once in my life done anything Italian or have acknowledged my Italian half. My wife and I also don't care about tradition. She's Polish, I'm half Italian, half Irish. We got married in a Christian Bahamian church. What's also funny is my mother refuses to call my wife her name. She just says, "Your wife?" in a snide tone. How are you and your wife? Kinda thing, you know? So yeah, that's my Italian traditional wedding. And yes, I have cut that toxic woman out of my life. You know, it's Italian tradition for there to be a money tree on the gift table, and all gifts of cash are to be presented at the services as leaves of the tree. Your mother's a bad Italian. It's an Italian tradition for the mother to give half of her fortune to her son for getting married, so she's a terrible Italian. God, now I want to be an Italian. What the hell? And now, our next post, ladies and gentlemen. Entitled Mother tries to steal my prom dress. Okay, so this is my first time posting here. Basic stuff. The dialogue here is translated from another language. Please bear with me as I try to get it closest to it as I could. Also, grammar. Please excuse any grammar mistakes. Our cast are Entitled Mother, Karen. Innocent Kid, which is the poor innocent kid of Karen. Taylor, my mum, and me, your local alien, not Dio. On with the story. This all happened back in February, and I thought it would be kind of fun to bring it up. Sorry if this is kind of short, for this is literally the first time I encountered a Karen in the wild. It was a week before prom when Mum and I picked up my prom dress. The tailor was almost done with it, so we decided to wait for a bit. It was on the mannequin as people walked by to ask how much it was. Taylor had to explain that someone, i.e. me, had it made, so they just left it alone. Of course, everyone except Entitled Mother. And that is when crap hit the fan. "Excuse me, but how much do you want for this?" She means the dress. "I'm sorry ma'am, but that's custom-made gown, and someone already paid for it." "By who? I don't see anyone here who seems to have the same size for this." "Me owns that." "What? Nonsense. They don't even look like it, they're too short." "Wow, rude." "Don't you dare talk back to your elders. Do you have any respect whatsoever?" "Aren't you a hypocrite?" "Ma'am, please leave, or I would have no choice but to call security." That's when the Entitled Mother grabbed the mannequin and started to leave. Taylor and Mum grabbed the other end of the mannequin as it suddenly became a tug-of-war. Of course, with Entitled Mother being shorter and weaker, Taylor and Mum managed to get the mannequin back and dress without any damages. Entitled Mother cussed us all out before she went storming out. Innocent Kid apologized for Entitled Mother's behavior with her face flustered from embarrassment, and they left afterwards. Everything went smooth after that, and we never heard from Entitled Mother ever again. The end. I apologize if this is kind of anticlimactic, but we didn't really press any charges or anything, since we didn't want any further troubles. And our next post. I know the store owner, and you are going to get banned. So about a month back, I was doing food shopping for a neighbor. They recently injured their leg and sent me to get some food. They gave me money and sent me on my way. I spent over 10 minutes in the queue, and when I got to the counter, an Entitled Mother pushed me out of the way, saying that I had cut ahead of her. When I got pushed, I fell over and hurt my knee, and cursed as it was quite painful, and the Entitled Mother thought that I was talking at her. She insulted me, which I handled well, until she said redhead ooh. In case you were wondering, I'm actually white, and I hate the idea of racism in modern society. I get up, look her dead in the eye, and do nothing for a few seconds. Then I say, if you think that you can call anyone that, then you deserve a boot lodged up your fat entitled ass. I am normally a very calm person, and a few other people there knew me well, so the fact that I screamed was probably a shock. The entitled mother said that she was on her way to shake hands with the president, and was not going to wait for an idiot boy to rub his two brain cells together. That's when I said, by president, do you mean the person who's been waiting an hour for that 50-cent hand job? She turned to me and said, my cousin's friend's wife is the manager, and you're getting banned for life. This is very funny, as the manager saw everything, and she said, actually, you're the one getting banned, and the police are getting called for disruptive behavior and child abuse. Long story short, this woman was arrested and was under the influence, and now has to spend 3 months in jail. Thank you for reading this post. Thank you, Peachy Art, for the comment. Checks all the boxes of terribly written story. No crap, how are people buying this? I think people are getting desperate for tales of the real world right now. Aren't we all, boys and girls? Aren't we all? So, I helped get my entitled auntie kicked out of the house. This was almost 10 years ago, and we still talk about it to this day. But when I graduated high school in 2010, I promised my great-grandma that I would move in to help with certain stuff because she was getting older and suffering from arthritis. She's now 88 and still kicking it, by the way. Around this time, her sister, the entitled auntie, was living with her. She didn't have a house of her own and kept saying that she'd get one, but would just forget about it for some reason. Anyway, this entitled auntie is one of the most hypocritical and rudest people ever. She's a Catholic and works at a nearby church, and yet she's the classic homophobic, anti-atheist, anti-Muslim, anti-abortion, anti-anything that she claimed would send people to hell while claiming to be a loving Catholic. You get the idea. In 2011, I moved in with my great-grandma, and from the very beginning, entitled auntie decided to try and make my life miserable. She would brag about her grandkids, and say that they'll be successful in life, and say since I'm autistic and an atheist, and not going anywhere in life anytime soon, and if only OP was like my grandkids, he would actually accomplish something. Now, her grandkids, my cousins, are much younger than me. The oldest just turning 18, and they're anything but entitled. My aunt just glorifies them. I don't even think they respect her. Not even their mum respects her. Entitled auntie talks crap about her all the time, and probably still does. But that's another story. Here is what kickstarted entitled auntie getting booted out of the house. But for a bit of context, leading up to it, she started trash-talking me under her breath almost every day until one fateful afternoon. In 2012, my great-grandmother and my mum drove a few hours south to Santa Barbara to visit my brother who went to college at UCSB, which left me alone with entitled auntie. I went upstairs to give my dog a bath in the tub. After I was finished, I let the dog out the back, put the bath supplies on the porch, and went upstairs to clean the dirt off the tub. I bleached every inch of it, but apparently missed a small spot. That's when I heard my name being called. I go upstairs, and lo and behold, it's entitled auntie. She's like, "You never do anything right in here. You missed a spot." I look at the small smudge that was the size of a dime, and I'm like, "Oh, my bad, I got it. And this is why you're not getting a job anytime soon. You can't do anything right. You're getting worked up about a small bit of grime I missed? Chill out. No, you need to learn to be like my grandkids. They're perfect examples of, I don't care about their upbringings. Now, are you gonna shut it, or do you want me to raise my voice at you? Now listen here, you little jerk. I don't care who you think you are. You will not disrespect me like that." At this point, I just grabbed my stuff, leashed up my dog, and just left. I texted my mum the ordeal, and she told my great-grandmother. Now, my great-grandma doesn't get mad, but boy, she was absolutely ticked off. When she got home, the first thing she told her was this. Gigi's like, "I can't believe you would talk to my great-grandson like that. What are you talking about? He told me and his mother everything. How dare you say these horrible things to him? Well, you should have heard what he said to me. I don't care. You have been rude to him ever since he moved in. Now, you have the next few months to find a house of your own because you're not living here ever again. That's final." My great-grandma told her other siblings about the ordeal, and it spread like wildfire. Relatives in Colorado, Texas, Florida, California, Nevada, and probably beyond heard about this and were absolutely livid at entitled auntie. My great-grandma's one of 13 kids, and had 7 of her own, and is also a cancer survivor. That's a whole lot of coolery for a 4'8" Hispanic lady. My family's big, but close to each other. Entitled Auntie found out about the crap storm she caused, and blamed me for it, saying, "If you make stuff up about me ever again, I'll kick your ass." To which I replied, "You don't respect me anyways," before she slammed the door. But her son, Entitled Auntie's son, didn't believe she was rude to me. So to prove it, I recorded audio of her trash-talking me in her room. It was next to mine, so I would gently lay my phone on the door, and it would catch her calling me names like queer or invalid, or anything she could think of when she talked about me. I then sent them to my mum, who showed Entitled Auntie's son. He was shell-shocked and decided he would help kick her out just a couple of months after I recorded her insulting me. Now she lives with a friend, and I wouldn't be surprised if she still talked bad about me. Whenever I see her, she still ignores me. She knows I may be self-controlled, but I will not hesitate to make your life a living hell if you give me reasons to. As for Gigi, she's 88, still going strong, and barely talks to Entitled Auntie. Well heck, that was a nice, lovely little story. Hope you guys enjoyed this one today. It's been a bloody pleasure bringing you this content. I've got nothing else to do during this bloody quarantine. I'm thinking of streaming in the next few days. Might get a face cam up, might not, but I'm going to be playing games like Dota 2, World of Warcraft, Hearthstone when the next expansion comes out, a few other things like Apex Legends, I guess. I want to get the new, Animal Crossing and play that for a few days, but I don't have the money for that right now. I'm kind of broke. So yeah, if you guys want to see some of that content, tell me down in the comments. I'm not sure if I should stream on Twitch or YouTube. You guys can give me an idea of where you would like to watch me on, I guess. I hope you guys enjoyed this one today. Tell me what you thought of it all, and I'd love to see you on the next episode. Bye!